Broads Media.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. I saw so many damn videos of the Flyers skate zone packed. There wasn't 1 inch of separation from bodies to bodies. It was orange and black throughout the whole entire complex. People are stoked to see this rebuild, and the fans are excited, and it makes me excited. I went back and watched 7 hours of Mitchkov highlights. Net drive looks amazing. His ability behind the net is absurd. The dude is going to be a star. He's gonna be a star. And I need it now. It won't happen now. There's many years for this to play out, and I have to figure out this old KHL nonsense. I know the NHL can't help out buying out his deal, but can him and his camp find some cash? Find some green bills laying around to slide Putin to let him over here sooner? I don't know. These huge organizations find slick ways to do a lot. So maybe there's something that could be done. The timeline, though, is he's going to need a few years to grow and gain experience elsewhere anyway. So let him do his thing. The reason I bring up development camp, though, and for as excited as I am, all jokes aside, there is one thing that bothers me, and I'm not making any long-term claims from this. I don't think this changes who Cutter Gathier becomes at all. But I'm living in the right now. And if the Flyers want to be on the same playing field as the Sixers, as the Phillies, as the Eagles, and maybe they don't want to be. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not inside those walls. But I feel it's my priority, and it's something that I truthfully feel would be great for this city and great for this team, is to hold them accountable when hot topics occur, when there's certain angles. I'll give you an example. And by the way, if you don't know what I'm referencing, Cutter Gathier decided not to participate in the development camp. People in my mentions are trying to convince me, even though it's not going to happen. Well, it's because the NCAA is making him pay because it's his second season. No, he's playing too much hockey, and he feels it's not necessary. They're using that as a scapegoat. They're using that as an excuse. That's not real. He doesn't want to be there because he's playing a lot of hockey, and he doesn't want to. That's his decision. It's not financial. We're not asking for a $50,000 trip to Bermuda. It's not a $30,000 European trip to Greece, Mykonos, and Santorini. It's a couple dollars for a guy who was selected top 5 in the NHL draft. If that's the case, you'd see all these college prospects, all of them, every year putting their hands up saying, I don't have money. No, they go. And I would like to think that Cutter Gathier, knowing that he could be a face of this franchise, would show up for something like this. Once again, not the difference maker in what he becomes. I think he's going to be a very talented center. And keep in mind, I stress center for the Flyers. If he becomes a wing, it's extremely disappointing. I need him to be playing through the middle as a 1C. And I think he can. But if the Sixers had Tyrese Maxey not show up to NBA Summer League, if Ben Simmons didn't feel like competing in Summer League after he first got drafted. Now, I get it. There's differences between both sports. I would not like it. It would be nonstop calls on 97.5 The Fanatic screaming about how he should be there. Is he going to be the face of this franchise? If he is, then he needs to send a message, and he needs to be a leader. I feel that way about Cutter Gathier as well. Regardless of him playing for Team USA and him playing for Worlds and him doing this and him having a college season, the quick turnaround, a few days at development camp isn't going to kill you. And it makes it worse when Danny Briere publicly admits, I don't know what's going on here. It's not good. It's not good optics. We'll all forget about it in years to come. I freaked out when Fletcher Cox didn't show up to OTAs one year. They ended up winning a Super Bowl. That's why I'm not going to go extreme and start putting huge judgment on it and questioning his character to a wild level. Of course not. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't know if it's necessarily malicious. Someone brought up to me a crazy hypothetical, wondering if he's upset that the Flyers wanted him to go back to Boston College instead of signing his entry-level deal. And is that what he's trying to do? You screwed me over. I want to go pro. I want to start getting paid to play. I'm not showing up. Now, if that's the case, I love it from a competitive standpoint. I don't like it from a actual professional relationship with the team. I don't think that actually happened at all. It was just something I didn't think about until it was thrown towards me. I went, I'm living in the right now. And the right now, I don't like the smell test of it, but I think he's going to be fantastic. And if that means I'm not supposed to waste my energy on it, or I'm not supposed to tell you how I'm perceiving it, I disagree with you. I don't think it's wasted energy. He's supposed to be, along with Michkov, what turns the whole entire franchise around so we believe again. So we can see a packed Wells Fargo Center with 20,000. The place going bonkers. You forget. Go back to the 2010 playoff run. Once in a blue moon, I do. I go back to the Boston series where they come back down 3-0. When they come back down 3-0 in Game 7. Now, that game was in the TD Garden. But if you look back to that run against Chicago, Claude Giroux, all of it's amazing. I want it. And when I see someone in the franchise's prospect pool who I think can help get us back to that, and he doesn't participate in a development camp, it upsets me a bit. I do like Andre, though. I saw a great play of him that Jordan Hall tweeted out. Good stick on puck, good gap control, creates a turnover right inside their own blue line defensively. He stops, and then he moves up ice, quick transition through the neutral zone, follows up, becomes a third guy high, and gets a nice shot on net. Is it possibly Chemo Timonen 2.0? Smaller guy. I love the fact, though, that there's actually something throughout this ugliness that's going to happen. And it's not going to be pretty. Maybe they play hard, and they play great under John Tortorella, just respecting his style of coaching and giving you full maximum effort, but they're going to lose a lot of games. There won't be a ton of points on the scoreboard. That's actually great. You don't want to have to beg for someone to fall to 7 like Michkov. You don't want to have the anxiety of, do we have to call another team in front of us? Do we jump? Do we package a first-round pick or another pick that we have to try and go from 7 to 5, 7 to 4? Because Washington's on our tail. Just fall in the 1 to 4 range so it's set in stone. And it's based off of you controlling the controllables. They're going to play hard. It'll be ugly. But throughout watching the ugliness, there's individuals. And there's certain athletes that you're trying to weave out the bad ones and keep the strong ones, the tough ones. Can Andre be that? I don't know if Cam York is a top pair. I see him top 4. See him maybe as a second unit, but not a top pair. Do I want to bring up Cole Caulfield? No. Did I? Yes. Always remember. Rest in peace, what could have been. Rest in peace, a goal scorer who can score 50 goals blindfolded. He can snipe 50 goals out of his ass. I want Cole Caulfield. I don't have Cole Caulfield. But watching the progression of some of your prospects on a night-to-night basis, shift by shift. Hey, that was a great outlet pass. That was good gap control. That was a beautiful forecheck. That forecheck created some separation along the half wall. And hey, JT Realmuto just hit a home run. I'm recording this during the Phillies game. I got the game on off to the side. Now it's 3-1. The Phillies are down. It was 3-0. And you know, Alcantara this year, when it rains, it pours sometimes. But anyway, we're Flyers. We're Flyers. We're Flyers. We're Flyers. I just want to watch them become something and watch them develop. There's some Flyers fans upset with some of the signings recently. Mark Stahl. The only thing that I don't like about the Mark Stahl thing is, if I was vocal, and I did feel this way, so I wasn't just vocal to be vocal, I didn't like the way Ivan Provorov handled the Pride Night stuff. I didn't think it was right knowing Scott Lawton and JVR and his teammates, what's supposed to be your brothers, how passionately they felt about it, and supporting the guys in the room, decided it wasn't important and himself was more important. I thought it was a selfish move. Mark Stahl, from a hockey standpoint, 1,000 games played, veteran leadership, can teach young ones how to be a pro, what to do on the road. He does have a history, though, of not caring about that either. Now, the NHL took a step back and isn't making it a thing anymore, which I've always stated that there's something wrong with the hockey culture throughout all of things, not just this, but racism. You can read up on the very sad stories that, unfortunately, some people have to deal with who do love the game, but because the color of their skin, I hate hockey culture. Hockey culture sucks. Mark Stahl was once a part of a statement of how bad the hockey culture still is. From a hockey sense, I see what they're trying to grab. Someone who's been around for a long time can eat up some minutes because you're thin on the back end. What are you upset for? They're not signing big free agents. They're not bringing in big names. They're not landing a splash. They're just trying to get guys to complete out the roster. Fill it out. Stop getting your panties in a bunch. All we demanded was change. We're getting serious level change. You're going bonkers because of a 1-year veteran deal? Because you're taking flyers on some randomness? I don't know. That just couldn't be me. Briere going back to the draft, because we really only reacted to day 1. I was confused by day 2. I didn't get getting 2 goalies back-to-back. Now, of course, that makes everyone initially run right to Carter Hart. They're keeping Carter Hart. I think they're keeping Carter Hart. There's still the Canadian World Junior Team investigation going on. Nothing's going to happen until that gets completed and everybody gets all the information from what they got information-wise. Okay. I don't think they're going out of their way to trade Carter Hart, to trade Travis Konechny, or to trade Scott Lawton. If the right package is knocking and the phone call is something that's beautiful to the ears, then they're willing to hear you out and listen. That's different, though, than actively shopping. They were basically trying to beg people to take Travis Sanheim's deal because it's not worth the longevity. No one would bite. Thanks, Chuck Fletcher, you bum, you moron, tying us to that before John Tortorella even gets his hands on anything. What did Travis Sanheim do to deserve that contract to sign? Nothing. But what's in the head of Chuck Fletcher? Nothing. It's the Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson has a monkey banging the cymbals in his head. I believe that's Chuck Fletcher too, unfortunately. And we had that man sitting in a big chair in a big room, and he was the big voice of this franchise we love and ran it into the damn ground. Danny Briere in the draft. Because you didn't sign Jay O'Brien, which was a waste of a pick, an absolute joke. You know, sometimes, once in a blue moon, someone sends me Jay O'Brien stats from Boston University, thinking that they would sell me on there's some talent left. Stop it. I don't care what he did in NCAA. I don't care what he did in Hockey East. I don't care if the room respected him or not. He wasn't going to pan out and be anything here. So you look at your second round and you want to gather something because you're going to be compensated for not signing your first round pick in Jay O'Brien. It allowed you some flexibility. That's a forward-thinking move from Danny Briere that I value for the long run on how he operates, on his brain power, his vision, his thoughts, his logic. If you can't co-sign that forward thinking, then I don't know if you want someone reasonable in your front office. Once again, Chuck Fletcher can't trade JVR at the trade deadline, an expiring contract, someone who has a track record and history of scoring a bunch of goals in this league on an expiring deal doesn't read the market and asks for craziness, irrational dope. Now compare that to Danny Briere slotting himself into the second round, snagging a goalie. I'm not too worried about what it means for Carter Hart or anything like that. Carter Hart's your dude. Now, Fedotov, the rumors about Fedotov, it's not that I'm waiting until it actually happens and wait until he's here before you react. But Carter Hart's your guy. I'm not losing sight of that. Until Danny Briere actually moves him, and until there's a huge bomb that breaks the Twitter world or thread world, you can follow me on Threads. Broads81, why not? We're starting to generate a tiny bit of buzz over there. Let's see what happens. But this is the Carter Hart show. That's why I don't like back-to-back goalie picks. I want to rebuild this system. Go snag someone later on. Go hit on a pick that's super late. 5th round, 6th round, 4th round. Find talent. Johnny Gaudreau, 4th round talent. They're around. Do your research. Before we do some Ask Me Anything stuff, because that's really what the show was all about, was Ask Me Anything. But I don't know if you're familiar with this. I normally just start speaking and then I can't shut up. My wife loves it. I'll tell you what. We have anytime hotline text. We have tweets. We have calls. Okay, before we do that, I was listening to the John Kincaid show, morning show on The Fanatic. He had on Charlie O'Connor this morning. And he said, project 5 years from now and look ahead. If this rebuild is going to work, do you see yourself writing a piece, because Charlie O'Connor writes for The Athletic, do you see yourself writing a piece about Keith Jones and Danny Briere succeeding? And if you do, what do you think the storyline would be and what the headline would be? Or do you see it possibly being a huge loss and a big failure? And if it is, why would it be ugly? And what went wrong and what would your headline be? And I looked at both sides of it, and I think it comes down to one player. I really do. And I'm not trying to oversimplify it here, though, but Michkov. It was a wild swing. A lot of things wild. It was a wild swing. If you hit the home run, that's it. If he never comes over and he's a never burger, and he's just a dude who was stashed away, and you can never get him to this soil, that's setting you back. If Michkov hits, you'll be looking into a beautiful Wells Fargo Center 3-4 years from now with youth and enjoyment. Oliver Bunk, you'll buy into it. Konechny will be older. Maybe Konechny still gets moved. But if he gets older, becomes the vet, becomes a true leader with a young wave following, I could see it. If Michkov flops, that's how in 5 years I'd see failure. And a lot of upset fans. Michkov. That's the separator. It's a lot of pressure on a young kid. But if you have the talent that he has, and he puts it all together, then he should be capable. I just thought that was a fascinating question, and I liked it. I think why it went wrong, Charlie O'Connor said John Tortorella. And not because John Tortorella is a bad coach. No. It's actually the complete opposite. He's a very solid coach, and because he's going to get the best out of everyone you got, if not even squeeze a tad more out, you'll never bottom out the way, let's say, Chicago just did for Connor Bedard. And let's pretend Tortorella was with Chicago. They're not finishing as poorly as they did, and maybe they don't get the odds. Now, we know the lottery ended a certain way, and the teams got screwed and whatever, but let's say they had 5, 6, 7 more wins just because the nature of John Tortorella coaching hard. It changes your franchise forever. Bedard could be that talented. He is that talented. I know he is. He's Connor McDavid 2.0, Sidney Crosby 2.0. I can't wait to see him perform. So Charlie's answer was this is not going to work if it doesn't work, hypothetically, of course, because of the coach. I'm torn on that because I agree. You won't bottom out with Torts. I also think, though, your first 2-3 years in the league, if Torts is still here then, you learn to play a game a certain way that I think over the long run will benefit him. So how do you find that balance? Can you find someone else who can teach them the ways that will lose you more games? Or you can't, because what Tortorella provides is the hardo factor and being mean and being aggressive and pushing you. And if you pull that back, then they're not learning those skills that I just mentioned Tortsy does put into your brain. It's an interesting mixture for sure. I don't want to run out of time because I've been babbling. We'll do some sort of rapid fire. This is from Nicholas. Do any of the current players on the roster have potential to be a first liner of a Stanley Cup team, or are we still looking for that level of talent? No, you do not have anyone. I don't think connecting on a Stanley Cup contender is hoisting the Lord Stanley. Sean Couturier, he's been way too injured for me to have a serious take on him. He doesn't stink. When he's healthy, he's phenomenal. I would be lying and doing everybody a disservice if I just pretended that Sean Couturier is automatically prime Sean Couturier after dealing with the long, long journey that he's dealt with. If he is going to be great, then fine. I need to see it happen, but we'll see if he gets out there. No one on this team. No to Cam York, no to Ristolainen, no to Travis Sanheim, no to Tony DeAngelo still here. He's going to be moved on very shortly, though, whenever the NHL lets them pass that deal. No, the answer is no, unfortunately. Noah Cates is going to be a phenomenal 200-foot game. Dude, he's probably third liner on a team that can win if he reaches what I think he can. No, Nicholas, no. Charles, I know the Flyers are going to stink. Real question, what do I really watch for next season? Young talent. Young talent. After the Sixers got over their hump of the process, they won 28 games. That 28-game win season was unbelievably fun. It was great because you're watching the next step. This is the next step. They admitted they had to strip it down. They admitted they needed change. Now, you get to embrace on the journey. It's not as great as tasting beer out of the Lord Stanley. It's not as great as watching whoever wins the cup snort cocaine, whatever they do. I'm sure they do all kinds of nasty and crazy stuff out of that cup when they're partying down whatever street they go down in their respected city. That's significantly more entertaining than this part of it all. But putting Band-Aids on it every single offseason was getting you nowhere. Why do you watch? Because you care about the Flyers and you want them to turn the corner, and you're figuring out who will help you do that and who won't. That's why you watch it. Sean, our guy Sean, will Fedotov ever take the ice as a member of the Flyers? If he does come to the States, I see him getting AHL time, getting some run with the Phantoms. I'm a Carter Hartsman until Carter Hart doesn't have on the sweater. Could he be a backup? Sure, I also like Ursin. Just because the nature of Russia, I'll play my percentages and say no. And say no. That might not be a bad thing, though, because there's a young netminder named Carter Hart who's great. We'll do a call here. Aiden called in.
Hey, Bird, just wanted to ask, who do you think should be the next guys traded for the Flyers? And who do you think will be the next guys traded for the Flyers? And would you trade Konechny, or would you keep him? I'm leaning towards keeping him, but it'd be interesting to see what we could get for him.
You could sell me both of those. You could sell me trading him. You can sell me keeping him. I like both. I do think both are valuable to this team. Okay. From what I'm hearing from people who cover the team, they would be willing to move on from Scott Laughton, from TK, from Carter Hart, if the price is right, but they're not going out of their way searching for it. Who do I think the next one to go? Tony DeAngelo. If that one's off the board because it's basically an automatic, no one's biting at Sanheim at all, man. No one. Shows you how bad the money is. Can they find a way, though? This is tough for me, this answer. I don't know if it's anytime soon, which is what's throwing me off. Because I know how badly they want to do this. I mentioned the names they're not looking for actively. They are looking to trade Sanheim, and they almost did something with St. Louis. It's not easy when you're dealing with teams that have no trade clauses. And Torrey Krug not wanting to move to this town, and his wife and his family and his kids not wanting this particular spot in the U.S. I'll say Sanheim. They're looking to. This is from Kevin. What's up, bros? My question is, sorry if you've elaborated on it before, what is your player comp to Cutter Gathier? I know you're a huge fan. I am a huge fan. I don't know what the experts are saying for Cutter Gathier. I think early on, player comparison, I think it was Scheifele. I think Mark Scheifele was a name that I saw as a bigger body, nice set of hands. Cutter Gathier player profile. This is more along the lines of just reading powerful wing with a big shot. I don't want wing, dude. I want center. He boasts excellent size, which allows him to play a physical game. Okay. Pretty sure it was Scheifele. Was one of the ones. I'm sure there's a billion of them. Without the puck, plays well. Cutter Gathier looks like he could be drafted anywhere mid to late round. Okay. NHL potential. Chris Kreider. An NHL comparison would be the current longest tenured New York Ranger, Chris Kreider. That's what the hockey writers have. And let's say I was right about Scheifele, because I'm going to pretend I am. Let's see what his stats were. Mark Scheifele stats. He has 42 goals last year, 68 points. He scored 29 goals last year, 21 goals, 29, 38. That's beauty, man. That's beauty. 12 years in the league so far, 723 games, 645 points. I don't want to sell you guys crap. NHL comparison, Cutter Gathier. Sorry if I'm taking way too much time on this. Gauthier admires power forward Scheifele. NHL.com, 2022. All right. There you go. Sam Carchidi, future star. Flyers take Cutter Gathier in the first round of the draft. Is there anything about Scheifele in this? I don't know why I'm so fascinated. Cutter Gathier is a Jeff Carter type, but maybe a little more physical than Carter. This would be the highest ceiling and a best case scenario. He was the third best center in the draft behind Shane Wright and Logan Cooley. Yeah, say that to Shane Wright. I'm done with this. I spent too much time on this. Anyway, what other text we got? Dan from Glenside. Hey, Hunter, Dan from Glenside here. Big fan of the best show ever. Listen to it every day. Thank you. By the way, they've been doing you dirty on Hunter's History Minute recently, giving you a lot of hard ones. Anyways, wanted to text in for your pod. Obviously, the Flyers are about to go through a major rebuild. The franchise has had a difficult time being consistent over the years, and it is clear something needs to change. My question is, would you consider the new Flyers era similar to the Sixers process? If so, would that make Mitchkov and Bede? Looking forward to what Danny does building this team so far. He's done a phenomenal job. I agree there. I thought, I'm drawing a blank. I should not be drawing a blank. Al Morganti. He does such a great job. Al Morganti was asked something similar, and I don't want to steal his answer. I just loved his answer, and I'll paraphrase it, but it's similar to the way the Sixers handled the announcement of what the process was, put them in a different boat. Teams rebuild all the time. The Sixers got a title because of the way they handled it with the media and Sam Hinkie and just their full-on approach. The Flyers are admitting they need to severely go through top to bottom and start plucking away at non-difference makers and adding difference makers. And there will be a ton of ups and downs throughout this, which makes this a process. But they're not selling it the same way, even though they are open about it. The way the Sixers did it, they went to, let's say when people say they give you it 100%, give it 100%. They gave it 350%. The Flyers are operating at more of an 80%, just as a overall how open they are about what they're doing. 80% hiding some details, not being as just crazy open about it and throwing all these terms and giving it this big label. So, no, I don't think it's the same, even though, yes, they're doing the same thing, but franchises have been doing the same thing forever. This is not groundbreaking. The Sixers weren't the first to do it. They just attacked it in a massive way, and it created a ton of headlines and a ton of buzz. But, all right, that's all I have for you today. Flyers hockey. Talkable. That's exciting. They're talkable. Threw a lot your way. Cutter Gathier should be at development camp. Make sure that's your takeaway. I'll talk to you guys all later.